in Brazil that CS was kind of living through that tournament.
Aumentar, calma aí, guys.
So once they cut it down, everyone was like, oh, we have no reason to play CS 1.6 anymore. For the following years, from 2011 to 13, I was kind of trying to keep the scene alive in Brazil, just because I really love CS.
Fala galera, hoje eu vou dar uma ensinada pra vocês em como...
Felt that I could do a change, I could make a difference on helping people to get better, play more CS, you know, play tournaments. I was casting the tournaments myself.
Nadia, pegar cá, consegue pegar cá. Quem sabe ele consiga. Opa!
I was doing it all. Of course, I had help from some other people. Together, we were doing a big difference in the CS community. In around 2012 and 13, we heard about CSGO kicking in. And at first, when I first tried the game, I thought it would be a disaster, just like it was in Condition Zero, for example, was in CS Source. Like, I didn't feel like that was it. The recoil was so bad, like, it didn't feel like CS at all. And I was like, dude, this is not it. And then a lot of people in Brazil were already moving to it. I can mention Taco, for example. Taco was one of those guys who was, okay, this is it, we gotta go CSGO. And I kept doing CS 1.6 for a little bit more months. I kicked ass and started doing CSGO. And I remember in 2013 that one of the things that happened is we didn't have South American servers. So CSGO was coming in, there was matchmaking for Europe, matchmaking for North America, but no matchmaking for us. And then we started on Facebook, and everyone in the community...
Caralho, você percebe como era a comunidade antes, né? Tipo...
Start hashtag...
Quando...
But no matchmaking for us. And
um post do Fallen, tá ligado? Tinha 77 likes.
And we started on Facebook, and everyone in the community started hashtag Valve at our servers, you know, in Portuguese, and everyone started this movement. And within a week, CSGO added it. So we felt like, okay, they see us, you know, like, so we kept going from there. And I think it really changed in 2014 at the very end. We received a spot and a chance to go to ESWC France. So that would be our first CSGO appearance. And we didn't have the money to go. At the time, we decided to get together to merge two teams. We had Kaboom at the time, who was me, the twins, Lucas and Henny, FNX and Fur. And we decided to merge this team with TD, who had an owner. His name is Sleepy. He was a big guy, helped us go so much in the beginning. So we bring some players together. We got Steel and ZKK and Boats, and me and Fur. So we kind of collided those teams. Even though we had those teams together, it was still hard to go to France. And that's when we used the Games Academy money, and we told people, hey, this month, every single monthly payment is gonna go towards the tournament. And it was amazing because we basically had 4 times more instantly. People in the community were like, we're gonna support you guys. And boom, we went to France to play the first tournament. I mean, we lost basically all games there. I think it was 1-4. I even remember Fer telling Pasha, I want to take a picture of this guy. Might never see him again, you know? Like, he was in this mood, like, this is a once-in-a-life opportunity, taking photos with Pasha. And then we moved back to Brazil, and then this qualification for MLG shows up. And that was big, because this was our WCG event. Like, if there's a tournament people are going to play for, they're going to take us out and going to pay for the hotels, pay for the accommodation, pay for the trip. That's what we need.
Still get it, it's over. Just like that, Cloud9 get up.
Mano, esse campeonato aqui, poucos sabem, mas foi disputada uma final no Brasil, na LAN, pra decidir quem que ia pra esse campeonato aí, tá ligado? E foi disputado o time do Fallen, esse time aí, contra o meu, que era o Golden Glory na época. E... acho que era Golden Glory, se eu não me engano, ou era outro time, eu não lembro, mas eu tava lá nessa final, lá na LGX, acho que era isso. E a gente perdeu. Eu lembro de eu ter terminado o campeonato, saído lá pro fora da LAN e sentado na calçada e, tipo, ficado muito triste, tá ligado? Porque eu não tinha classificado e tal. Mas você vê como as coisas são, né? Como era pra acontecer isso, né? Era pros caras tá lá, tá ligado? Porque os caras, a partir dali, iam gerar, enfim, todo mundo sabe.
obliterated.
So we went to this tournament. We won a map against Cloud9 there pretty convincingly on Mirage. We had some different strategies, you know, like people are like, oh, those guys exist, like they can do different things, right? A week later, we managed to go to Colorado and play the Denver tournament. And we are able to beat Fnatic a map there. So coming from South America, you beat Cloud9 at first, and then you do good against the best team in the world at the time. After that, we go back to Brazil. And that's literally going from 100 to 0 again, because in Brazil, you were not facing any of those competitions. But then we saw that American League was coming in with ESA. And then there was no South America, of course, you know, for Brazilians always come late. So we're like, maybe we can play there. And all the Brazilian community started reacting all together like, hey, you guys need to add one South American team. Why not? You know, like those guys. But after they start realizing so many comments are coming in, so many feedbacks, they're like, if you guys come live in North America, you can play it. Basically, that's basically how it went. You know? And they were like, all right, we can do it. You know, we have no idea. And then ZKK was like, I have a friend in the United States who maybe can accommodate us for 3 months. And that's when Ricardo, who is now with 00 Nation and were so many years with us in SK, in LG, that's when he kicks in with Camila. And he's like, okay,
O nego tem coragem de xingar ele ainda, né, velho? O nego xinga ele.
you guys can come, no problem, we're gonna figure it out.
Short day, I would say. Good day.
Let's keep it short.
Yeah.
What was it like having 5 gamers move in and kind of change your whole home life?
Well, 7.
7.
7 to start. I was pretty weird, I would say. Like, I've been playing the game throughout like 15 years. I was really good friends with ZQK back then. He got in touch with me saying like, oh, we're gonna have a tournament right there. I think it was like EPL or something like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, let me know when you guys are playing. And I just gonna come and check and say hi. 20 minutes later, they're like, yeah, we have no place to stay. Can we stay at your place? Of course, I went to ask my wife if we could have did that. She's like, okay, but how long? I asked them, like, oh, the tournament is gonna take 2 months. They end up like being with us for 6 years, 5 years. When they got there, it was like pretty intense, I would say, not in a sense that like tournaments, but pretty intense that people really wanted to make it work. And that
Caralho, olha o code, mano. Nossa senhora, velho.
feeling I will never forget. I've been throughout like almost like 50, 60 players, and just few of them actually had this fire that's like make it or break it. Was pretty crazy, but was probably one of the most fun times I ever had.
We go to US as Kid Stars after the first major. That's when some international organizations start showing up, and then we transition to LG. So when thinking about this change, Taco and FNX for Bolts and Steel, and also Zeus for NAC too, when we made those 3 changes, as a person, I already knew FNX from the past.
Vamos vendo aqui.
Yes, and I even told the guys, I know FNX, it's gonna work. We just don't know for how long, because I already lived that with him for so many years. I already lived this moment with him for 2 or 3 times. It's gonna be the 4th, and he delivered much more.
Take a breath.
You know, in terms of performance, he was exactly what I wanted. You know, he was winning the clutches. He was the guy that could perform. I had no idea about Taco. You know, something very personal about Taco is I kind of doubt him at first. He's the type of people.
Cara, parece. O Taco não mudou nada, né, mano? Ai, caralho, que susto, mano. O Taco não mudou nada, mano. Tá feio do mesmo jeito.
Who will put the team at first, you know? It's the team at first, and I'm gonna do everything the team needs. I already knew that. But as a player, as performance-wise, I was a little bit skeptical. And there was one game we played against NIP at the very first tournament. He won a 1v4 Mirage game. He's retaking A from jungle. Alu, for some reason, jumps in triple, gives him a kill. He managed to get 3 more.
Que isso?
That's when I say, he has it all, baby, you know?
When you get the call from Fallen to join LG, how long did it take you to make up your mind?
It was fast. Deep in my heart, when FNX told me that we could make a difference joining them, that's exactly what I felt. I knew that they needed someone like me in their team. I knew that they needed someone that is selfless, someone that would help them to achieve what they wanted to achieve, because they had.
Ô, sabe uma coisa que me deixou feliz, mano? Só mudando um pouco fora de assunto aqui. O Device voltar, mano. O cara, mano, ele é um cara que fazia falta no CS brasileiro, mano.
Had already Code Zero and Fur, obviously Fallen. With these 3 pieces, you don't need another star. You don't need another star player. So I knew that I could make the difference. That's the biggest reason why I decided to join them, and that was not a hard decision, to be fair.
You know, it was clear that the potential was there for that Brazilian lineup, making 3 top 8s at the majors, but it was also, you know, the era of a lot of best of ones, map randomizers and whatnot, and you could tell if they were going to make it to the next level, changes had to be made. Once they did pull the trigger on that change, you know, Taco joining with Zeus a day before the Face It grand finals, you know, at the DreamHack Winter, there were a lot of question marks. The first game that lineup ever played was a 16-0 loss.
I remember after we lost 16-0.
Eu lembro desse jogo. Pra um mero detalhe, o Dead, eu acordei de madrugada, a gente tava nos Estados Unidos. Esse jogo, eu acordei de madrugada nos Estados Unidos, 4 da manhã, 3 da manhã, era muita diferença de horário, né, mano? E eu lembro de, mano, o Dead, ele tá dormindo na sala com a latinha na mão, assim, tipo, todo quase caindo do sofá, tá ligado? Aí eu acordei, né, pra ir no banheiro lá, sei lá, uma mijada, né, uma balangada lá. Aí o Dedão, eu olhei pra TV assim, mano, os caras tinham acabado de começar a jogar, tá ligado? E aí o Dedão, acorda, caralho, vai começar, pá, não sei o que. Mano, Dedão em Narnia, velho. Acho que deu 2 minutos e ele voltou a dormir de novo. Aí eu fiquei lá sentado ao lado dele vendo o jogo. E aí acabou o jogo muito rápido, tá ligado? Aí eu fui dormir depois. Era outros tempos, né, mano? Naquela época lá, velho, nós acordava 9 da manhã, 8 da manhã pra fazer tático, tá ligado? E ficava até tipo 10 da noite, comia, jogava Rank S, tá ligado? E dormia de novo, acordava. Era, mano. Tipo, sei lá, mano. A gente tinha umas 14, 15 horas de CS por dia, tá ligado? 14, 15 horas de CS por dia. A gente só queria saber de CS, tá ligado? Aí, mano, eu ficava lá o dia todo jogando. Aí resenha com os caras da LG do outro lado da casa. E aí à noite todo mundo via jantar na casa que a gente tava lá da Games Academy. Que era só atravessar a rua, tá ligado? E aí todo mundo na mesa ficava falando de CS, e aí rolava até discussão lá, mano. Era uma parada, mano. Tipo, a gente não queria saber de mais nada, tá ligado? A gente só queria ter oportunidade de jogar um campeonato, a gente só queria viajar, ter dinheiro pra poder ir jogar o campeonato, não precisava de dinheiro pra comida, a gente comia o que tinha, dormia no hotel que tinha, tá ligado? Não falo que as coisas mudaram, mas tipo... Hoje envolve muito mais dinheiro, né, mano? Hoje um jogador de CS, ele ganha... Se ele classificar pra um Major, ele ganha mais dinheiro do que ele ganharia se ele ganhasse um ICL Cologne, tá ligado? Só se classificando. Pode ficar em último do Major. Tá ligado? E eu acredito que aquela parada de ficar 14, 15 horas... Eu não sei se isso é bom não, tá ligado, galera? Eu acho que tem o lado bom e tem o lado ruim de você ficar o tempo todo jogando, ficar 14, 15 horas no PC. Mas com certeza aquilo fez a gente sair do 0 pro, sei lá, pro 8, de 0 a 10, né? Muito rápido, assim, 3 meses, tá ligado? Eu à toa que a Immortals de 6 meses virou top 10 do mundo, tá ligado?
Oh, I got the team together and I said, what's the difference? Had we lost 16-14, would you feel better? It's a new team. You know, like we gotta go through stuff.
But from that first loss, they ended up playing in the grand final of that event against Fnatic and being 1-0 up. That was the best result that lineup ever had in their first event with almost no practice with Taco. So you could tell that it was very promising, that it seemed like they did make the correct decision, right? Cold was already establishing himself at that point as a star player of the team, and obviously Fallen as the experienced in-game leader, and the AWP player having a lot of impact himself.
Oxi. O que o Faker tá fazendo aí?
I actually believe Luminosity has what it takes in this final in
Eu tava aí, hein?
On overpass, yeah, I feel this is a map.
Terminei em... Perdi nas quartas de finais pro Nave, hein?
One of the maps they actually have to win in order to win this grand final. You know, a lot of things fell into place. They beat already Fnatic in a best-of-1 in a group stage of that tournament. They had a grueling series against Navi in the semifinal, where Navi actually revealed some of the strategies they had been saving for the major, some boosts on overpass, notoriously triple boosts. They managed to grind out some tough games. I felt that really hardened them.
Tava em qual time? Eu tava na Tapestorm. A gente perdeu pra Nave.
Seeing as how they lost a couple of close series to Fnatic, you know, this has to be the one time that it goes their way.
Katowice 2006, I remember this.
A lenda.
Like 2-3 rounds that I remember. It's gonna haunt me forever in that game. But of course, you always had an eye for like Fallen. It's been around the game like 1.6 even earlier. I didn't even play it. I believe we did a super comeback against them on overpass. I think that got the gas out of the tank, or how do you want to say it, of them. And you can only get that experience from playing more finals, right?
Você achava o Krings bom? Você tá de brincadeira comigo, né? Só pode ser piada.
I think they weren't like 100% ready. After that comeback, I think we just had the game right there.
As you were desperate to win because you wanted so much, because you won it, so you're already gonna change the way you think. You're already gonna behave differently. And I think when the feeling that we would win would show up on the most nervous times, you know, like on the finals, when the deciding factors could change, we were still choking because the mental factor wasn't too strong.
We realized we're a good team, we have the pieces, but the start of the match, towards the end of the match, the rhythm changes, the story that you're telling changes, and closing out a match needs a layer of experience, but it also needs a layer of patience. And that was the biggest thing for us, is we learned to control all the emotions. Everyone says Brazilians are hype, we are. And that can be very positive, but it can have a toll on you in the moment in the game where you let your emotions take control of you, where you're not thinking clearly, where sometimes you just need to stop, relax, let them make the mistake, and then you can close it out.
Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be yet again. They lose 3-0, but 2 of the 3 maps go into overtime, right? It's another close series, and also something felt off, right? Cold was the worst performer for LG in that series, being one of their best players, obviously, and on the other side you had Olof with a signature.
Eu lembro que o Cold ele jogou mal esse campeonato e depois ele tipo ficou com um rate mais que 1.15, 1.20 por, sei lá, 30 torneios seguidos.
Grand final, right? Best player of 2015. It wasn't meant to be in Katowice either, but you could tell, you know, it was about to happen. Success was just around the corner for the Brazilians.
Here he comes once again. The first base is a trend. He's gonna hit the road. Oh! What? Jumping double for Cold! What is going on right now? Effective actually. Oh, and gets the shot on the flaming. Even spots the man. Good night, Zeus! It may just be destined to be an extraordinary winning their first major championship.
All the Tech Nines to work with. Gonna try and shoot them down as they walk back through, but FNX and Fallen are the ones to do it instead. Which does fall down, but Fallen recovers that. Pulls it back, Snack's down as well. He's on the M4 this time. He's got 2. Transfer on to Nino. Snack's trying to find the equalizer, but look at Cole go. He's got an ace in overtime. SK Gaming, second major championship in a row.
I feel like I remember that time pretty well.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hold back then just didn't make any mistakes. He was so fundamentally sound, and that's just like the traits of like a top tier player. Like they just don't make mistakes. They make things happen out of nowhere, and it's just really hard to play against players like that.
He couldn't make a mistake when he was playing the game. When you're playing against that, you have to understand that when you're in like clutch situations and at any point in the round, like you understand where he is, but even if you know where he is, it's still like really hard to kill him, and you just had to respect the guy. It was just too insane.
I knew Cold was a star. He was always one of the best, if not the best players in Brazil. I never lost faith on him. Even when he had a bad performance, I knew that he was super good and he would become something else, and that's what happened actually. I remember one time when he
Vocês me
decided
amam
to
também? Obrigado.
not play CSGO anymore, and he was playing League of Legends, and he had a high rank, and he was doing great. And I remember me convincing him on his team, talking to him and say, Cole, you need to come back. Man, you need to come back. Don't.
Nossa, versus o Cold. Vai, Vina, me... Eu ia falar pro Vina me picar. Hoje não tá sendo bom dia, não.
Don't do that, please. Come back to our team. Let's do good things together.
The foolish first round, the poor first round from them that they have.
I went to Cologne, was my first boot camp to be playing the Cologne Major in 2015. Before my first practice, I asked them how hard it was playing against European teams because I never played against Ray. So, and they said like, you have like 1 second to kill them. If you don't kill them, they're gonna kill you. And I was, okay, that sounds fair. In my first three practice, I dropped 47 bombs, 42 bombs, and 43 bombs. So, and I was like...
Eu fiz isso também. Tá? Isso aí eu fiz também. Não foi 40, mas foi 30 ali.
Oh, that's everything they have?
E foi meus primeiros 7. Eu lembro muito bem.
I was just focused off myself. I just forgot all my entire life. When you have a personal problem, it's kind of hard to deal with the game. So I just put everything back.
Foi na época da... Não sei se era Games da Canal, Tape Storm já. A gente foi jogar na Europa. O pai chegou lá, mano. Arrebentando. Ó, os times são eu, Cold Zero, Lux, Ponter e Léo Monster contra Lucauzi, Realzing, Short, Pyria e o VSM.
Just focus inside the game. I forgot about everything and I was just playing like 15 hours a day. And I was really ready.
He used to be the first one in, last one out. It's not about just talent, it's about doing the basic steps very cleanly, not making mistakes. And that's kind of the way that he instructed Brazilian CS to come. More players learn to be thorough in their steps, not make that little mistake. And that's the best thing I can say about him, because he taught an entire generation of players how to do their due diligence, and that's amazing.
How to do diligence.
Amazing to me, at least coming from a coaching perspective.
Early 2017 was a really weird time for SK Gaming. There was some turmoil within the team, which led to them removing FNX, this longtime core member. They ended up going to the E-League.
Será que chegou a hora do pai? Preciso
Atlanta Major and having to play with a sub. It was Fox, a Portuguese player who was sort of at the end of his career, end of the road for him. Then they added Felps after the fact, and it took him a little bit of time to kind of warm up with Felps within the roster and the issues that came along with that. What was really interesting was FNX was transferred over to Immortals, who were like the next in line of the Brazilian teams, the next team from the region that was supposed to be like really top contenders. And so quickly, they just hit the ground running right into Katowice.
Oh. Obrigado, CL. Caralho. Obrigado, CL. Obrigado pela homenagem aí, cara. Guys, daqui a pouco a gente continua. Deve ter mais alguma coisa. Figurante é duro, é foda, mano.
We were methodic. We knew our step by step. Immortals lived more off the Brazilian structure of let's hype this up. If we start a match well, or if we get into that rhythm, no one can stop him, even SK.
Taz goes to the smoke. Taz goes to the smoke. He won't find it. It's done.
I remember Lucas screaming, looking at the boys and saying, "We're not gonna lose this. We're not gonna lose. Let's go!" And we start to shout. The referee, he came to me and said, "Say to your team to not shout." And I got back to him. I'm not gonna say this. I want them to shout. I want
por que
them
o
to
ADB
feel.
pediu pros caras parar de gritar?
There. Like,
Faz nem sentido
their
isso.
soul, their body, their mind inside the server, and I don't care.
They were a storm that they couldn't even control, that no one could control, and nobody knew where it was going to go. And they started going, and the emotion was flying, and the energy was building up. I don't even think they were able to control it in any meaningful way, and I don't think they wanted to control it in any meaningful way.
It was very fun to see Henny and G in the server together. Back in those days, Henny, I think he was the faster Alper I ever saw in my life. And I saw Fallen playing in the same team. I saw Code,
Nossa.
like some Brazilian.
Aí fudeu, velho. Pica o Zev, Code. Pica o Zev. Boa, isso aí.
Like the best Alpers. I never saw someone so fast as Henny.
Pausa importante pra falar aí que o meu cupom na Nash Store aí tá dando um bônusinho top pra vocês aí. Exclamação Nash Store aí. Quem usar meu cupom ganha uma no cu. Bora. Olha o pai aqui. O pai não era calvo. Nossa, eu vou deixar esse cabelo de novo. O que vocês acham? Vocês acham esse cabelo legal? Vocês acham top esse cabelo? Eu vou deixar de novo, mano.
And Quem, he's not just the
Famoso tucano. Cacatua, sei lá.
The game and the
é cringe.
Play style, like he's
cringe, cabelo cringe.
Quem could, if
Lança o calvo da cria.
If we were down like, I don't know, 10-5, he could like say some words that would ignite a fire inside of the other players. And that's what was a key part of a team that was missing on Immortals.
I thought they were a little bit crazy playing. I don't think that could last. And in the end, it didn't last much, to be honest. They only had this big run at the major. But if you think about it now, later on, I kind of think that they were a little bit ahead of the map at the time. Like they were able to get more space and be more aggressive than teams would be. And that kind of gave us their ledge to them. They played well, they had their system, and it's a shame that they didn't win it. I think Gambit came back after losing the first map, they almost got it.
Hobbit with his clutches, Zeus with the clutches, they really needed to bring everything they've got into this game to be able to close it out despite the result.
So this
Eu tenho esse casaco.
Felps era of SK Gaming kind of ends.
Vetou aqui já? Nuck. Aí fudeu, mano.
In October of 2017, but really I think, you know, a struggle to kind of incorporate him into the team and make him work appropriately the way they envisioned. That was a long time coming and a long time building, and certainly that loss in Krakow and the fashion in which it happened, I think maybe, you know, one of the daggers that kind of led to his eventual removal. I kind of felt like that started the path to when he was going to leave the team. And they bring in bolts. They actually bring in a player from the Immortals lineup that made that deep run, who showed some very good rifling and showed a different.
Mano, parece que deu errado, tá ligado? Do jeito que foi feito esse comentário, mano. Parece que falando desse jeito aqui, como foi no comentário, parece que deu errado, tá ligado? Parece que eles queriam dizer que, pô, deu errado, tá ligado? Não mostraram nenhum título, tá ligado? Pô, né, ganhou 6 títulos, mano, junto. Parece que eu saí como, tá ligado? Que eu entrei lá, fiquei um mês, não ajudou em porra nenhuma e vazamos, tá ligado? É louco.
Style.
The addition of bolts instead of Felps happened because the internal problems we're dealing with. Again, we didn't come to a solution where we could sustain Felps into the team. Bolts was...
Tá vendo? É foda, velho. Bora pro jogo. Tem que entrar no server.